And we're live. This is a good thing because we'd be dead otherwise. Howdy, everybody. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope you can all hear me okay. I'm showing here that I'm good, so let's say hi to everybody first before we go any further. Looks like Joe Rader, Black Rock Central, got the cookie. Enjoy that cookie, Joe. Glad to have you here. John Nippenberg got the half cookie. Good to see you here, John. Enjoy that half cookie. And we got Thomas Grassy. Tom, good to see you here. We got the Gigliottis. Ray, good to see you here. Yeah, sorry you missed the cookie, but, you know, it happens. Dundas Junction Model Railroad. James, how you doing, James? Good to see you here. Chuck Schreiber. Hey, Chuck, good to see you. Colorado Spike Man 94. Thomas, good to see you here, man. Tom's Trains and Things. Hey, Tom, how's it going? Good to see you here. Let's see who else we got. That's everybody. Okay, good deal. So, as most of you know, or probably heard by now, I had, hey, Ray Bertelson, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. I had massive computer program problems. My fault, of course, because, you know, like an idiot, I thought I was going to go ahead and upgrade my OS to Zorin, which is a Linux program, but it's supposed to emulate Windows 11. Well, it really doesn't. It just got the Windows 10, Windows 11. It has the Windows 10 face on it, but underneath the face, it's your Linux. That didn't work out for me too well. So I got rid of it and went back to Windows 10. Well, about a half an hour after I reloaded Windows 10, Windows 11 came up. It just on its own decided to upgrade me to Windows 11, which sucked. It was slow. I didn't like it. I put up with it for a couple of days, and I said, you know what? I'm going back to 10. So that's when I ran into all the problems. I rolled it back to 10, but Windows 11 had destroyed or erased some of my drivers and even programs that wouldn't run on 11. So I figured the smart thing to do would be to reload 10 with a fresh install. Well, that didn't happen because Windows 11 wiped my secondary drive, which is the D drive, which had all my backup stuff on it. Fortunately, I backed up everything on a separate hard drive, you know, an external one, but still it messed things up and it just went down over. I'm not going to go into it, but literally I spent a week trying to get Windows 10 reloaded and operational. I finally got it yesterday. And, well, here we are. I still don't have OBS settled yet. I still have more things I've got to do to, you know, to customize it. That's why we're using StreamYard tonight. And let's see. Thomas says, what is Millennium County version 3.0? Soon. I don't know how soon, but soon. And once again, this computer issue set me back so much in both time and money that it's going to be delayed even further. And that's why, unfortunately, I didn't really get anything done on my layout this past week because I was too busy screwing around with the computer. What am I printing tonight, Chuck? A switching tower for the layout. I found a modern one on the internet and decided I'm going to print it up. I've got 4 of the pieces that are printing now, and it should be done before, hopefully before we get off the air tonight. Then I have a few more pieces that still have to be printed up. Then it has to be assembled, and we'll see what it looks like. I'll paint it up and all that. It's going to look good, I think. And it's nice because it's only taken 4.5 hours on this. It's been running for about, I think, an hour and a half now, thereabouts. That would have taken 8 to 10 hours on the old 3D printer. So that's a good deal that we're running a lot faster with this new printer. So hopefully next week, I should be able to jump back on the layout and get some things done. Now I think I brought this up last week. I wired up the drop arm, so it's operational now. The only problem I've got is it's really keeping me from running trains. They still have a section of track down a ways that I have to replace. Then of course I've got to run the sugar line. The new sugar line route is going to come in the similar area, so I'm still going to lay that out yet too. I'll get to it. Like I said, I'm not in a big hurry. And I've got to clean up everything too. I mean, the place is a mess. Let me see. Let me switch cameras here, just for fun. All right. That's my overhead, but I'm gonna maybe. Well, maybe not. Okay, now can't do it. I was going to show you the rest of the layout, but I don't have the camera pointed in the right position. But trust me, it's a big mess right now. I've got stuff everywhere. Because unfortunately, when I was working on the computer, I had to remove a lot of stuff off my desk here, and I just threw it in any open area on the layout I could find. But I'm slowly getting things put back together, so we'll see. Ray says, at least you didn't lose your hair. Hey, you're thinking too much overheats your brain. And that's funny. I got to put that on the board. And I get I'm surprised myself. I did get a haircut, so my hair isn't thinning. It's just I did get a haircut. And hey, Derek, how's it going? Good to see you here. Says, hey, Big Jim, been listening but couldn't type. Yeah, it was an ordeal. It was a massive clusterfuck and a circle jerk, because that was the biggest problem. It had me going around in circles. I'd try and load Windows 10 up. It wouldn't take it. So it'd throw me back to, the Zorin Linux program, which I thought I got rid of, but it was still on the drive. And it was just a constant circle jerk. Back. I was almost ready to throw the whole shit in the trash and start over again. Not really, but it was tempting. So it is what it is. Let's see, you guys are getting ahead of me here. Yeah, good one, Derek. Maybe that explains my thinning hair dilemma in life. Hey, you never know. I always told that if you wore a hat, you lose your hair early. And it seems like a lot of guys that wear hats are bald. Is there a correlation there? Well, could be. I don't know. I've never really been a hat wearer, so. And fortunately, in my family line, the men keep their hair till the day they die. So hopefully. Shut that off here. I'd say I'm still fooling around. I'm trying to reorient myself with StreamYard because I haven't used it that much. I forgot some of the nuances of it, but So anyway, that's where we're at now. I'm seriously thinking that after the first of the month, which is only a few days away, I'm going to start laying down the floor outside for the extra room. I think I could get it done probably in a timely manner, like maybe 2 weeks, say, maybe 3. Once that's done, then I can order the shed, assemble that, and get it set up in here, and then cut the hole in the wall and have my secondary room, which I really need because it's getting a little crowded in here. I said I took my resin printer down. It was sitting over here on my bench. I've got on the layout right now, just chilling out. I don't want to put it back over here. Fortunately, I don't need it anytime soon because hopefully, and one of you guys asked a question earlier, have I printed anything of any great detail yet? No, I have not. I plan on it, and also have a smaller print head, the 0.02 millimeter, because it's got a 0.04 millimeter in there now. I did buy an extra 0.4, and I bought a 0.2. And the 2 I think will be great for fine types of work. We'll see. I'll let you know when it happens, if it happens. There you go, Ray. When I go to the barber, he cuts my hair. So when I comb my hair, it still covers the bald spot. Actually, I've got a tiny little bald spot. No, I don't know if it's bald or not. I can't see it, unless I'm like in front of a mirror. I have to have 2 mirrors, actually. Which is kind of odd, but like I said, it's not that big of a deal. I don't worry about it. But I haven't had a receding hairline yet, so that's a good thing. And by all means, I shouldn't have one. But, who knows? And the only reason I'm concerned with it is because, I think I would look stupid bald. Some guys I've said this a million times. Some guys look good with no hair. I would not be one of them. I just don't see it. And maybe it's because, I've never seen it, but at least not myself. But all the guys that know have lost their hair, they're good looking men, It doesn't look weird on them that not have any hair. But I try and imagine myself without hair, just in case it ever happened. And I'm thinking, man, I would not look good. So hopefully we can avoid that problem. I told you what happened with the barber. I think I talked about that last week. They changed hands again. That's a common problem. Every time I go to the barber, there's a different person owns and runs it. It's happened 3 times already. It's got to stop. Fortunately, the woman did a fairly good job on me. Although I prefer men to do it because they seem to have a better touch. But she did a fair job, so it's like no big deal. But they raised their price too. Went from $15 to $19. Bunch of horse shit. So she only got $1 tip. Normally I give them a $5 tip. That's a $15 cut. I'll hand them $20, keep the change, and everybody's happy. I said, I'm not spending more than $20 to cut my hair, man. It's ridiculous. I'll go back in about 3 months. We'll see if she's still there. I wouldn't bank on it. Anyway, so the computer does seem to be running much better now. Of course, now this is something anybody who has a computer that does a lot of work on it, you realize that over time it slows down. It just doesn't. It gets a little clunky. So I don't have that problem anymore. It was probably due for a reformat. Ray says, Jim, if you keep pulling on your beard, it saves on a haircut. I wish that were the case. This comes in fast, man. Been 2 weeks since I shaved it? And I've already trimmed it once. and I had to shave under my neck like 5 or 6 times, trying to keep it more or better groomed, I should say. Tom says, I'm glad Debbie hasn't raised her price for a shave and a haircut. 2 bits. Yeah, you got nothing to shave. Yeah, you got nothing to shave, Tom. Well, you got to shave, but you got nothing to cut. Does she trim your beard for you? That's pretty cool. I could probably let my Debbie trim my beard because you really can't screw it up. But call for pricing before you go back. Yeah, probably not a bad idea. They said it'll probably have somebody different there, new owner. I don't know why. It's not a real busy place, but it's a good place. You know, it's right on 27, which is like our main road into town. It's literally about a half a mile from my house. You go out, cross 27, and there it is. Which is why I like it, because I went to another one, was owned by Hispanics. They did a fair job, but the first time they did, and then the second time I went back, wasn't so good. So maybe that was their deal where we'll do them a good job the first time, and we'll start slacking after that, you know. And he was more expensive. Hey, he was $20. You know, and I said, well, I still gave him a $5 tip, but you know, that's a lot of money for a haircut, I think. Let's see here. Derek says it would not be funny if it turned out to be an OBS problem the whole time. I think OBS did have some issues. Now, I loaded an older copy of OBS. Now, I had the latest one, I think, is version 39 or 32. I don't remember. It's 39. I went back to 29. I would have went back to 28, which is the first one I ever had, but I figured it'll just keep bugging me for updates. So I went to 29. That's what's in there now. It seems to be working fine, but I haven't gone live on it yet. And I would have done it tonight, but I didn't want to have any last minute problems. So I figured, you know, I'll wait and I'll test it out before I do it. And I already paid for StreamYard for the month. So I might as well get my money's worth out of it because, you know, they charged me $88 for a month of StreamYard. It's crazy money. And, you know, they don't give refunds, and it is what it is. But I'm wondering the same thing. I think OBS was possibly taking up too many resources out of the computer. Now, mind you, I've got a fairly decent guy. It's got a gaming board in it. 32 gig of RAM, which is a lot. I've got the Ryzen 6-core chip in there, CPU. I've got an 8 gig video card. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why the computer couldn't keep up with OBS. Unless, of course, it was really, really sucking down the resources, which it may have been. But we're going to find out when I test it again, probably this weekend. I'll do a test on it and we'll see what happens. Because like I said, my numbers are good on the internet. I've got the Starlink, as you all know, and so there's no reason to have any problems. I've got new cables. I bought, they gave me a brand new Ethernet cable for the Starlink itself. And I went out and bought a new Cat 8 cable from the router to the computer, which is literally sitting on top of my computer. The router is. So there's no reason I should have any problems, you know. But we'll have to really just wait and see what happens. Who knows, you know. But I do believe that I think, you know, because, I mean, I've had problems with, you know, Comcast was an issue too. I mean, I've been monitoring. I still have Comcast. I'm probably going to get rid of it either tomorrow or early next week. I didn't want to shit can it yet until I got things figured out. Now, the only difference that I liked about Comcast is the download speeds are great. If I run Ethernet cable to my computer out here, I get 950 megahertz down. That's fast. Upload speed was shit, which you need for streaming, but download, I download a lot of stuff. That was great. Now with Starlink, on a good day, I might get 350 down, which isn't bad. Just it's not mine. But I can live with it because the upload speeds are excellent on Starlink. I mean, I think the highest speed I got so far was 51 up. Not bad. So, Ray says, I spend $20 at an old style barber. He cuts my hair, trims my beard, all included. Everyone is the same price. That's the way it should be. Like I said, the guy that was before this woman, that's what he did. Well, it was $15. I might give him a $5 tip. Might as well say 20. Cut my hair, trim my beard, trim my ear hairs, even the nose hairs, I mean, and on my eyebrows too, So it's like, what the hell? It was a good deal. Now, he didn't shave under here, but that's not a big deal. Like I said, I can do that myself. But all that for $15 wasn't bad. And he did a nice job. But, it's like everything's getting expensive. People are jacking their prices up. I don't know if you guys heard or not, USPS, the Postal Service, they're now going to include a fuel charge on all packages that you receive. So, if you're sending them out, of course, it's going to cost you more. It won't cost you anything to receive them, I don't think, because whoever ships them pays a surcharge. And, of course, that's going to hurt the bottom line for the post office. They're so stupid. And, people just start shipping UPS or FedEx. Why wouldn't you? But I don't understand these places jacking up their prices. McDonald's. I don't eat that crap anyway, but they want to add a $15 fee on top of your whatever you order, claiming it's for, I don't know what the hell he said it was, like for like a surcharge of some sort. Are they stupid? I mean, a Big Mac's already what, $9? Then you want to tack on $15 on top of it? Ain't nobody gonna be that stupid, I don't think. As I said, I don't know what the hell's going on. Let's just keep raising the prices. They'll pay it because they got no choice. Yeah, actually, we do. We don't need to fucking eat at McDonald's. We don't need to mail our packages through USPS. So, I think we got the upper hand here. Derek says every barber in New York thinks they're Edward Scissorhands and artist. They expect the tip to be $20. Yeah, well, up there I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, remember, it's New York. And I wouldn't do that. I mean, I had a barber down in Estero, just outside of Naples where I used to live. And she was, a good barber. Pleasant to look at. She was kind of stacked. And she would charge, I think she charged me $16. And I sometimes I think the most I ever tipped her was $20. And the reason I did that is because, every time I go in there, and I used to go in like every couple of months, and she'd treat me like a fucking, like a celebrity. I mean, I got the works, She'd shave, trim, everything, and she probably spent about an hour on me there, which wasn't bad. So I figured it was worth the money, But she didn't expect the money. She was just really happy that I tipped her like that. And I think that's the thing. When they start expecting certain amounts of money, then you have a problem, and that has to change. Ray says when it costs $50 plus for lunch at McD's, something is wrong with society. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to bury them. They'll wind up going belly up. You watch, And it's funny because they just lowered their prices. They have the $3 menu meal or something, because people were bitching. Paying $9 for a Big Mac. And why would you? All it is two burger patties, a bun, and some veggies. You know, I mean, it's not even worth $1, to be honest with you. He said, I don't eat that shit anyway. You don't even know what the hell you're eating. But, you know, I just don't get it. I mean, and what do they think? Money falls out of all our asses? It ain't falling out of my ass. I can tell you that right now. Wish it was, but it ain't. So, you know, oh, by the way, here's his stuff. Oh, shit. Almost wore it. It's root beer from Tractor Supplies, $1.29 for this, which is not bad because you get 26 ounces. Because if you get like a regular bottle of Coke or Pepsi or Sprite or whatever, it's like $2.10 now, and it's only 16 ounces. Much better deal, and it tastes good too. I was in there the other day and I saw them. They've been out of stock for a while. I said they had like 20 of them on a thing. So I said, oh, you got root beer again. I bought 2 of them, you know. Good stuff. But I almost did wear that too, man. Buttery fingers. Fat buttery fingers. So anyway, getting back to the layout. Like I said, I'm hoping that, you know, well, like I said, we still have a week left, I think. What's today, the 26th? Actually, less than a week, or thereabouts a week before we're into another month. And which will be April, which is my wife's birthday, by the way, April 22nd. She's expecting a gift, and which I will get her, of course. It's not an expensive gift either, which is even better. They said, well, you know, what do you want for your birthday? And she told me, I said, oh, I can do that, you know. So, like I said, hopefully, you know, I get my check on the 3rd. I get my rent on the 1st. So I'm going to take some of that money and I'm going to buy the 2x4s and the hangers and start building the floor out there. I'm just going to stand up 2x4s a foot apart. Roughly, it's 8 by. The shed I got some odd size, or the one I want to get. I can't remember what size. It was like 7.5 by 9 or something like that. It wasn't, you know, you think it'd be like a 10 by 8, right? But it's not. It was only $300. So I figure, what the hell? It's not bad. And I'm not going to, you know, make a big deal over a couple inches. Yeah. Some women might make a big deal out of that, but you know, not me. So I'm thinking, you know, I could build a probably an 8 by 10 pad. Yes, there won't be too much cutting involved with, you know, any of the lumber. Just put the hangers in on the shed side, build the frame outside, 2x4 standing up, and then go ahead and set the, like, what would you call them, runners or rafters? Footers, I don't know what the hell they're called, but run them in there a foot apart and then put the plywood on top of that. I probably can't do the plywood this month, but I can get the plywood next month because that shit's expensive. I want to use 3/4 inch. Like I said, I'm not going to have a lot of weight on it, just my fat ass mostly, and a couple of benches. So, you know, it looks like we got some people popped in here. Let's see here. Joe says, I worked at Mickey D's while in high school, 15-cent burger, 19-cent cheeseburgers. How long ago was that? I mean, I remember that stuff actually it was 10 cents when I was a little kid. And I think they were probably about 75 cents by the time I became an adult. I don't really remember. Yeah, that's a good point. McDonald's CEO makes over $20 million a year. and he won't eat the burger. He should be forced to eat that crap and take a pay cut too. No birthday dinner at McDonald's. And Sparky, hey Sparky, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. What did you jump on me again here? Did it? It did jump on me. What the hell? How far back did I really go back? Oh, Tammy, that's Joe Rader's dog. Turned 6 months old today. Happy birthday, Tammy. Who's a good girl? Let's see here. And Ray says, back in the day, that was the first date, then maybe pizza for the second. That's true. I took my first wife to a it was a, what the hell do you call it? Pinball place called Pinball Palace. And it was there in the park, and that was a hangout for everybody. And they didn't serve food there though. I don't remember when the hell I actually took her out to eat and what we ate. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. $1966. Okay, yeah, that's well, I'll tell you, let's see, how old would I have been? I was born in 59. So I'd have been probably about 7 or 8 years old then. Now, when I was a kid up in New Jersey, the nearest McDonald's was like 50 miles away. We didn't have one in our town because we lived in that wasn't a real tiny town, but it was a small town. And so once a year, my dad would, load everybody up. We're going to McDonald's. And like I said, back then, I think burgers they were, I want to say 15 or 20 cents each for a regular burger. And they were it was real burger, and they were big. I mean, not because we were small, but they were just big burgers. The shit they're selling now is crap. But that was a once a year deal. That was like the biggest treat. Oh, we're going to McDonald's. It must have been a year, because we didn't have one in our town. Anything we had in our town, we had a Chick-fil-A and several pizza joints. We didn't have Burger King, McDonald's, or Wendy's. We didn't have none of that shit, And I remember McDonald's I think it was over 1 million sold. Remember they used to have on their sign how many burgers they sold? It was only like 1 million at that point. I mean, it was just, it was different. I didn't know Tammy was a dog. That was one of the puppies that Tammy and Ray had. And I think that, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but didn't she give you one of the puppies and you named the dog Tammy? Pretty dog too, man. Joe says she got a couple of carrots. There you go. Dogs love carrots, man. I know mine do. I guess it's kind of like a not quite that hard bone, and it's orange. Even though dogs are supposed to be colorblind, but I don't believe they are. Oh, okay, I was correct. I wasn't 100% sure, but I would. I'll tell you, if I didn't already have a dog, I would have drove up there for one of the puppies. Yeah, because I'm always looking. Well, I gotta have a dog, and like I said, I had a bunch of old dogs. They all died, from old age. And Deb found my wife found this one down in Naples. She was visiting down there, her and her daughter, and she's texted me a picture of the dog. She said, "What do you think?" I said, "Get him." And he was at the Humane Society or whatever they had down there, like the Humane Society, and it cost me $15 to get the dog. I had to go back down to Naples the next day because they have to, whack the nuts off them. And I had to go there to pick up the dog, but I didn't care. So, So in reality, it probably cost me a little over $100, but you factor in the fuel. But actually, only $15 though to adopt a dog was a good deal. Ray says, I remember when we had a road trip to go to A&W once a month in the drive-in movie. That was a treat back then. Now we had drive-ins up there too. Now we didn't have an A&W. That was a couple of towns over. Wasn't that far. But we did go to A&W, and there was another one, Dog and Suds. Was that the one? They had Dog and Suds down in Naples. I thought they might have had one up there too. I don't remember. But those were great places to eat and, go to the movies and all. We had a regular theater, indoor theater. Like 50-cent matinees. My dad would take me to one every now and then, I remember the last movie I saw there with him was Robinson Crusoe on Mars. We're talking like 1967 or somewhere around there, Still remembered the movie. It was weird. Carrots are good. They can play with them and then eat them. Is it a toy or is it food? It's both. It could be, right? No. Oh, man. I'm going to have to get a new cushion for this chair, I think. I think it's deflated or whatever. It's getting uncomfortable. So anyway, I'll probably do a video on the floor when I start doing it. And probably maybe do a before and after or something like that. It should be relatively easy, even for me being, disabled, because I can still do it standing up, because the shed's about a foot off the ground, because they get it level and all. My land is weird; it kind of slopes, so it's not as deep over on this side, but it's deeper on the other side. So I have to get cinder blocks to put underneath the framework to keep it level. I already have those already too. So this should be a piece of cake, I hope. I can't wait. Like I said, the pain in the ass part's going to be putting in insulation because it's a metal shed, so you don't have a lot of room to play with. I want to put insulation because I insulated all this too. And of course, interior walls, which will probably be drywall. I initially wanted to put 1/4-inch plywood up. It would have been a piece of cake in here because I already had 2x4 studs. But at the time, wood prices were through the roof. And I would have spent like an extra $500 to put wood in here instead of drywall. Drywall was still cheap, it still is. So I'll probably just go ahead with the drywall out and then the room too. Of course, I have to run electric and lighting. You're not going to be anything fancy. I bought some from Temu. They're foldable LEDs. You screw them into like a regular outlet light bulb socket, which I'll just put on the ceiling, 2 of them. Screw them in, and then they fold out. Look kind of like a butterfly, or they call it a lotus lamp or something. I don't know. And you could actually aim and it's pretty bright. I mean, it'll light up that room like it is out here. So Sparky said, Tom, are you guys home the last couple of weeks of October? Hey, you coming down, Sparky? That'd be cool. Oh, yeah. He says, I'm thinking of driving to Tampa and then hit Timonium on the way home. Well, we're a little bit below Tampa, about, I think, 50 or 60 miles, something like that. And Tom's only a few miles from my house, so if you see him, you got to come here and see me too. Them's the rules, man. But yeah, let us know. I mean, I'll be here. I'll be here anyway, but um, you'll have to get with Tom because he does a lot of trade shows. So I don't know what his schedule is. But I'm sure if it's definite, he'd probably hang out for you anyway. No. Yeah, I would come to see you both. I would certainly hope so. That would be cool. So I always look forward to anybody who visits down here because we don't get a lot of visitors. You know? I mean, well, Tom's been over. He comes over on occasion. He was here today, as a matter of fact. Yeah, that for a little bit. I go over his way sometimes. So, and let's see who else we got. Crooked Dave's been here once. Or was it twice? Once. Tom Grassie's been here once. So I always look forward to seeing anybody, you know. Like you said, if you wanted to stick around for a while, I do have a spare bedroom with a bed in it, and it's got air conditioning and heat. So, you know, nothing fancy, but I wouldn't mind putting y'all up, you know. So there's the Sparky. That will be a long ride. Yes and no. Sparky's still young enough to where I don't think traveling would be an issue for him. Or he might even, like I said, if he flew into Tampa and then rented a car, drove down here, and then you can either drive all the way back up to Timonium with the rental or back to the airport. Hit the closest airport to Timonium, and then, you know, from there, I mean, I don't know how you do it. There's lots of possibilities. It's a 2-day trip to get there. That's not bad. That's about average. That's from your house in Canada, right? Because I think back when I used to make the drive a lot, I used to go up to Indiana or Ohio. I think they went to Jersey once too, where I came from, and literally done it in 20 hours or less. Back then, I could drive straight through. Now, not so much, but yeah, that's not bad at all. Anyway. All I got to say is I'm happy I got my, because I was worried I wouldn't be able to do the live stream tonight. If I hadn't got the computer fixed when I did, I probably wouldn't be doing a live stream tonight. I mean, granted I could do it on the phone, but no. I even kicked around even doing it on the main computer in the house. You know, I just dragged my microphone and camera out there and wouldn't be that big of a deal. Joe says Baltimore to Tampa is 17 and a half hours for me. That's driving slow, but not terrible. Like I said, I made it from here to Indiana, Warsaw, which is northern Indiana. I think the best time I ever did was about 11 hours. I was doing about 140 most of the way. Like I said, I was a lot younger and I didn't give a shit, you know. And I just drove, man. Straight through. The only stops I made was for gas and an occasional snack. Yeah, Joe will be looking for a bed for the 2 days of Timonium coming this time. Oh, there you go. Like I said, I'm sure everybody's got a spare room or whatever, or cot. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to put you up. And so I told Crooked Dave, because he was down here with some friends that were from North Florida. And He says, I wish I could have stayed. He says, I didn't know you had an extra room. I said, well, next time you come down, you and the wife, we got beds for you. Your own room, you have privacy, your own shower, the whole 9 yards. He says, well, that'll be good. Next time I come down, I'm going to take advantage of that. They're doing the speed limit with dogs, so stop at all the rest stops. Yeah, well, I can see where you have to let the dog do his business. Yeah, I don't do the speed limit. Well, I do now a little bit, but even then, only because they crack down on them. I mean, like I said, I've made that trip many times. And a car, I had my Fiero at the time, and it would do 140. And believe me, I did 140 most of the time when I was traveling with it. Same with my Riata. My Riata did almost 145. And I used to go back and forth to work. It was about 15 miles to work every day, 5 days a week. I get on the interstate because it was the quickest way to get there, and 140, 145 every morning. One time a cop came up behind me. I thought, oh, shit, I'm screwed. Got in the other lane, blew by me like I was standing still. I'd be doing 150, 160, maybe more. I don't know. Didn't bother. This is 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like the only car on the road anyway. The worst that'll happen is you fuck up and you die. But I wasn't going to take anybody else with me. So, and I think that was the main reason why they didn't bother me with it. Then one time I was coming back from Indiana, and as soon as I hit South Carolina, and I was out doing about 80, 90, maybe 95. Speed limits are 70, and this unmarked police car come right up behind me, right? And oh shit, I'm busted. So he changes lanes, and he was an unmarked car, but he had Florida tags on. He was out of his jurisdiction. He pulled out, man. He put the hammer down. Well, fuck him. If he can do it, so can I. So we ran, taking turns, leading all the way down to fucking North Florida. We were averaging between 130 and 140. It was great, man. I love that shit. And see, Derek said he used to drive Long Island to Daytona in about 13 hours. That's good time. Speed limits and radar won't let you do that anymore in a lot of states. Well, that's what I'm saying. They got the super speeder laws now. If you go over 100, you're going to jail. They impound your car, get a $5,000 fine. Like, well, fuck that. I can't afford any of that shit. So, because I routinely go over 100, I had to get blood work done a few months. Well, it was about 6 months. I think it was about 6 or 9 months ago. I go every 3 months. And they moved I go to Quest, and the closest Quest is Lake Placid, which is about 14 miles from my house. I get down there, and I go there, and I go to check in. I go, oh, shit. I didn't bring my document with me to tell them what test to do. I've got 15 minutes before my time comes up because I make appointments for that, right? Shit, I can make it back to the house and back here in 15, I'm pretty sure. Jump in the car, man, I was doing like 100. Well, my car only do 111. I think I was doing about 111. Shot back to the house, grabbed the paper, jumped back in the car, did 111. I made it there with like 3 minutes to spare. If I did that today and got caught, I'd be going to jail. But at that point, you didn't go to jail for that shit, So, the Sparky says, I have done that as well with an unmarked on a highway, did 130 for about 50 kilometers. There you go. I said, they don't, most of them don't give a shit, as long as you're not driving recklessly, and I never did, So, every time I passed, he wanted to lead again, then he slowed down, and I passed again. So that's what we were kind of doing, taking turns. He was the cop was in the lead. That was in South Georgia. And some old man in a Cadillac was in the slow lane. He saw us flying down the road, so he jumps in the fast lane and brake checks the cop. Cop flips his fucking lights on. Boy, that motherfucker got off the road real quick. And we just blew by. That was funny as shit. Probably give that old fucker a heart attack, you know. But he had it coming. He had no business doing what he did. You know, I hate it when people play cop on the road. You know, if I want to speed, that's my choice. None of your fucking business. That was a great ride, though, man. You know, and like I said, I've gotten speeding tickets before. You know, usually for 10 over. The payment's not a big deal. Wasn't that much. Today, though, I mean, like I said, if you get the super speeder law, which we have in Florida, they'll hit you up for, you know, $5,000. Like, are you shitting me? Well, you're going over 100 miles an hour, which, you know, realistically is nothing nowadays. What are you going to do? John Nippenberg, you're back, or you're in. How's it going? Ray says, so what lube do you use for 100 strokes a minute? Asking for a friend. I don't know where that came from. I'm not so sure I can even answer that. Derek wants to know how that half cookie was, John. I know you were here earlier. You know, well, you came for the cookie anyway. Sparky says, hey, where did it go? Hey, I didn't know it was a cop till I was passing. Then he waved and smiled. I knew it was going to be a fun drive since he didn't pull me over. Well, that's what I'm saying too. You know, he said that cop came up on me pretty quick, and you know, well, that's when they were driving the Ford Crown Victorias, and it was a cop, you know, because he was in uniform. He probably had a 10 something in another state, you know. I guess they send them on seminars too, but you know, like I said, once you're going that fast, you're caught. You know, if you slam on the brakes or you create more problems for yourself. So I just kept on going. He passed me and kind of the same thing. Kind of looked at me and you know didn't say or do anything. Said, oh fuck, you know he's up over 100. I might as well jump in there and join him. You know, because in Florida, as long as he doesn't have his lights and siren on, or on siren, you can legally do whatever speed they do because they're supposed to be setting an example. So he's doing, you know, like he said, he got up to 140. I got up to 140. I was behind him, so it didn't fucking matter, you know. Even when I took the lead, and I had one of those cameras in the car, you know, as part of my mirror. So if he'd have tried to write me a ticket, which he couldn't have anyway, because he was out of his jurisdiction, you know, I would have fought it and won either way. So. What's that? John. Tom says, John, watch you going for gold video today, but the comments was turned off. I hit the like button, but I could not leave the comment. Did you have it set for kids? That's the only way you generally don't get comments. So thanks, Tom. I'm checking that out. Yeah, make sure it's not for kids. Check that one off, and then your comments will go through. Oh, absolutely, Sparky. That's what I'm saying. It's, you know, why make a fool of yourself or admit your guilt anyway, you know. If he pulls you over and asks you what you were doing, you know, I wasn't paying attention. Come up with some stupid excuse, but, you know, you're going to get a ticket either way. So it doesn't matter. You know, if he decides to pull you over. So, you know. I said one time my dad was in the hospital. He was going to get his doing the stress test, the physical one. I get a call saying, well, you need to get to the hospital. Your dad's dying. he's probably not going to go much further. So I was at work, So I jump in my truck. I was driving a van. I was a painting contractor. Jump in the van. I flew. It was about 18 miles to get to the hospital. And I mean, I was pushing, 80, 90, somewhere around. Couldn't go too fast because of traffic. When you know it, state trooper pulls me over. You know how fast you're going? Yes, sir. Why are you going there? I said, well, my dad's dying in the hospital. I just got the call. I got to get down there before he dies. Well, I'm going to write your ticket. Yeah, that's fine. Can you be quick about it? You're not going to argue with that? No, sir. You caught me. I was speeding. I think I have an excuse, but, write me the ticket and let me be on my way, All right. So he wrote me the ticket with $65. He actually cut me a break. He got me for doing 10 over, and I was well over 10 over. But he was so happy that I didn't give him any shit. And I, dude, you caught me, write me the ticket, and I got to go see my dad before he died. I get to the hospital, he's fine, This is why I got a call. He said you were dying. He's like, I ain't dying. What the hell, We never found out who the hell it was called me either. Motherfuckers, they're lucky. So, it is what it is. But, and most of the I just don't worry about it. Because, I have passenger in the car like my mom. Aren't you worried you're going to get caught for speeding? Because I speed all the time, No. Why not? Because if you worry about it, you'll get caught. And I believe there's some truth to that. If you're paranoid, you're breaking the law. Somehow or another, the cops can either sense it or I don't know how they do it. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to get popped. So I just, I don't worry about it. I get a ticket, I get a ticket. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I don't. John says, I fixed it, Tom. Also saw a video I posted at Christmas, had comments turned off. Funny thing is, I always upload them the same way. Not sure what changed. Like I said, the whole thing is, as near as I could tell, it's usually got to do with whether it's kid friendly or not. If it's kid friendly, they won't you can't get comments, which is stupid. I don't know what the hell difference it makes, but that's the way they do it, So I always check mine to make sure it's checked on the right thing, not for kids. And I never had a problem with it. I think my wife posted the first time she posted. She did, because I think it defaults to, for kids. She didn't change it. She posted it. She didn't give no comments. So I got on there. So, well, I can't put comments in there because you got it set up for kids. It's kid friendly, video. Well, I didn't do that. Well, it did it anyway. So, it is what it is. That's Screwtube for you. What can I say? So the real purpose of COPA is to marginalize the disabled. Hey, Ray, how's it going? It could be. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, and I said this even when they started this shit, how do they know who's watching? It's like, if you're watching porn or something, are you over 18? The kids are going to lie and say yes. It doesn't matter. I mean, if they want to watch something they shouldn't be watching, if the parents aren't monitoring them, they're going to do it anyway. I don't understand the problem. John says both were set not for kids, but comments were turned off. Huh. I guess you can do that. I don't know. It's all bullshit, As he said, like Tom was talking on Wednesday night, Tom Grassi, talking about, how they fuck around with your subs and your watch hours. I mean, what's the point of any of that shit, you would think that they'd be happy you got lots of watch hours and lots of subs, and you should get rewarded for it. But instead, and it did it to me too. I think I got 516 now, maybe 517. I haven't looked lately. For a bit there, I got down to like 492. How did I lose all those subs? Well, it only held that way for a couple of days, and all of a sudden it's back where it was. So whatever they did, they kind of screwed me out of my subs for a bit. And I'm still short on the watch hours, which I don't care. But it ain't right because, like Tom said, they don't credit live stream watch hours unless you watch it, after the live. If you watch the replay, that counts as watch hours, but the live doesn't. What the hell? Tom says, guys, in the YouTube studio, go setting on the channel. Go to advanced setting. Those should be checked. Look into this. Okay. I haven't had a problem with it because, like I said, whenever I upload a video, I make sure that it's not for kids. So I don't even do it in studio. It just does it on the upload page. But who the hell knows? I said it's ScrewTube. They do what the hell they want. None of it makes any sense anyway. It is what it is. So. Hey, this is some good root beer. I don't drink root beer often, but it's nice to get a good one when I do. So, let's see what else. So what I found out was now, like I said, Windows 11 or possibly Linux, I'm not sure which, messed up my D drive, which is a secondary drive in the computer. Well, I've got these sticks, USB sticks. I bought 2 brand new ones from Amazon the other day. And it wrote EFI files onto my thumb drives too, leaving them basically non-operable. I have a software program in my other computer called Partition Magic. I had to use that to clear the EFI files off these drives and make them usable again. Couldn't do it without it. If you tried to format it in the computer, it didn't even see the drive, let alone be able to format it. Never ran into that problem before. It's very strange. Did I get any trains running? No, not yet. I'm close. Said I got the drop arm is finished, more or less. I got to put a piece of track in over there, and I got a small piece to put in behind the drop arm. And then we should be operational. So more than likely, you'll see trains running next week. Okay, I didn't. Well, it probably already is, but I wasn't aware of that. If you change the setting in YouTube Studio, it will save them as your default. Excuse me, that makes sense. Good advice, Tom. And it's modeling stealing in HO. Modeling steel in HO, excuse me. Research Palantir, that's how not only our own government, but a certain state formed in 1948. I've heard of Palantir. I'm not real familiar with it. Isn't that AI? I think. I'm not sure. Like I said, I didn't really look into it, but I've heard the name a few times. And I know which state you're talking to in 1948. But I don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, like I said, it's, Trump, he wrote a treaty or the things for a treaty with Iran. They rejected it. And then Israel pops up and says, well, we want to keep going until we annihilate Iran. And Trump is like, no, that's not what the purpose of this whole war was. We just want to get rid of the nukes if they have them and make sure they never have them again. And Netanyahu says, no, no, no. We want to take over Iran. We want to annihilate it first. I don't know what the hell's going on with that mess. The good news is that Russia is backing off. They will no longer support Iran, even though Iran was one of their closest allies. And supposedly China's backing off too. I don't know. Modeling still says it's worse than AI. You got me convinced. I don't like AI to begin with. I mean, I can see some fun stuff to do with it, but it still scares the shit out of me, you know. I don't really understand how it works or what it is. I mean, it's artificial intelligence, but, you know, how do we know that's not, you know, demon possession or something? Could be, you know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't trust none of that shit. I don't trust technology these days. I think it's dangerous. I think it causes more problems than it solves. And because of that, we should stay the hell away from it. They have one of those robots. I think Chinese came up with a robot. The female robot supposed to be, you know, or whatever. And it actually turned on its owner. It wanted to kill the owner. It wasn't strong enough to do it, thank God. But it actually had plans on terminating its owner. If that ain't enough of a reason to not have something like that, I don't know what the hell is. You know, I mean, it sounds cool. Hey, wouldn't that be cool to have a woman that doesn't argue with you, does everything you tell her to do? You know, but then again, she may, you know, wind up killing you in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. I consider that a major problem. Race is more like artificial incompetence. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and because it does make mistakes, fortunately, because, you know, but that's going to solve that, you know, just a matter of time. Tom Gray said Jim trains are technology. Also, we have DCC with the, well, I mean, some technology is good. Don't get me wrong. But some technology we should just stay away from. And I think artificial intelligence is probably the biggest one, you know. I remember it was about 20 years ago. One of the supercomputers we had, supposedly, they had implanted an artificial brain in it. And it had the intelligence of a 3-year-old at that particular time. And it was self-taught, you know, self-learning. And then they didn't hear anything more about it, so I don't know what happened to it. They probably had to destroy it. I don't know. So, I mean, as I said, it's scary stuff. Ray says, if AI becomes the go-to for everyday life, it's time to prepare for the apocalypse. I believe it is. You know, I just don't, you can't trust it because, look, it's what makes us human. You know, we have emotions, feelings, a sense of right and wrong. Some do anyway. A machine doesn't have any of that. I mean, they say, oh, we could program it with that. Bullshit, you know. You don't really have any control what's going on in that synthetic brain. And they, like I said, that's fine if you want to have something that can't actually hurt anything, you know. It's like the supercomputer, they wanted to hook it up to all the nukes. Are you fucking stupid? You know, why in the hell would you put our weaponry in the hands of a computer? Well, it's an intelligent. I don't care how fucking intelligent it is. It's not a man. You know, why would you trust a machine with our very existence? I wouldn't. So, you know, it was scary shit, like I said. And Model of Steel says it's connected to it. Well, that's true. It is. It's in everything. We got. I mean, you got it even on the computer. I don't think it was on this one yet, but the one in the house, which is still Windows 10, up in the corner, it's got the Gemini artificial intelligence that I can access if I want. I don't, but it's there. Yeah, everybody forgot about Skynet. Well, they're working on it. Yeah, it'll come. So I'm saying, first, there's two things, actually three things you should do. If you're going to have robots with artificial intelligence, first and foremost, they should have an off switch. Okay, so you can hit the button, turn the motherfucker off. Second, if that fails, they should have, an implantable bomb in them that would destroy everything outside of them, but would destroy their inner workings, self-destruct button that you would be in control of. And third, you never make them indestructible or smarter than you are. It's the same reason why, a 130-pound guy doesn't date a 400-pound woman because, if she decides to piss him off, if he decides to piss her off, she could kick the shit out of him. You never hook up with a woman who could beat your ass. Why would it be any different from with a machine? You wouldn't get involved with a machine. I don't necessarily mean sexually or whatever, but you wouldn't have interactions with a machine that could kill you. That seems like common sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, the movie War Games. I remember that movie. That was a pretty good movie. Ray says if more and more Gen Z gets into model railroading, then chances are analog DC cab wiring will start to make a comeback. That's probably true because, they're not very bright to begin with. Hard telling. And I don't have a problem. I mean, they say they can't find jobs. That most of our businesses that are pre-existing won't hire a Gen Zer because they're fucking useless. They think they can pick and choose when they come to work and what they're willing to do, what hours. It doesn't work that way. No, I don't know. Here we go. Modeling Steel says, did you know the movie Matrix is connected to the Terminator movie? The Satanists love to mock us in movies. Yeah, I guess it could be. I watched all four of the Matrix movies. They have a new one they just came out with last year. It was pretty good. Well, it's funny because on MSN, the news, internet news today, it was an article. I didn't read it because I think it's bullshit, but there's a 98% probability that we're living in a simulation, which should be just like the Matrix. Because remember, in the Matrix, that was all simulation too. Remember, toward the end of the third movie, they had all the people, they were in like casket-like things on life support. And somehow or another, their reality became what was what would become virtual reality. But I don't believe that that's the way it is. I find it hard to believe. I could be wrong, but not likely. Yeah. Ah. Damn itch. Gen Z was poisoned just like all of us. I don't blame them. I blame doctors, hospitals with vaccines. That's true, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a new variant of COVID coming out. What the hell is it called? Shit, I can't remember now. It's just in the news today. I ain't worried about it, And they're saying that tuberculosis is making a comeback too. They're calling it the white plague. So I don't know what the hell they're doing. I think they're just trying to find a way to kill all of us, Seems like it. I remember reading a book called I, Robot when in school. Oh, they had a movie on that. I saw the movie. That was one with the black guy. Anyone remember the Westworld movie? That was another. Well, that is serious too. Once again, robotics, and the robots turned on everybody and killed all the humans. Well, not all of them, but on the Westworld set, it killed them all. Yeah, Westworld. Well, it was a great movie, and the series was great too. Um, and sometimes you wonder if this isn't they're like cluing you into the near future. I don't know if they are or not, but it does seem like it sometimes. When I was a kid, we had the New York World's Fair, and I'm sure a lot of you older guys have probably been there. That was in 1963, I think. I was real little at the time, but I remember it was really cool because it had all the futuristic stuff. It had microwave ovens, self-driving cars, all kinds of cool shit in there. And it's funny because I read somewhere that stuff was in existence back then, but the people would have never bought it because, we just didn't get into that sort of thing. They had to wait till it was socially acceptable. I remember when microwaves came out because I bought my first wife one. That was back in 78, 79, maybe 1980. I don't remember. So in that time period. But I bought her one for Christmas. And yeah, I was in New York. Now I lived in Jersey at the time, but my family took us over there to see it. They had the planetarium in there. Well, it was actually an IMAX theater, but they didn't call it that at the time. It was really cool because it was this big, like a dome thing, and you go in there, you sat down, and the whole screen was everything above, And it was a space movie they were playing. It was like you were really in space. It was fucking cool as shit, They had a lot of neat stuff there. I don't remember half of it, but I do believe that a lot of that stuff, actually they had working models, I said that they were demonstrating microwave ovens. But if they had tried to put them out in the market in the 60s, nobody would have bought them because, we were still, like my mother still cooked the old-fashioned way, on a stovetop. And it really wasn't until, like you said, almost 1980 before people were, kind of okay with microwave ovens. And some of them really weren't, Hayden Planetarium. Yeah, that could have been what it was. I don't remember, honestly, but I remember being in it. It was really cool. They had car simulators, too. And you got to sit in the simulator. It looked sort of like a real car, but not complete real car, just like the interior one. And you could actually, there was a screen in front that you could actually, it looked like you were driving. It was a driving simulator. Really cool shit, man. But, like I said, I wonder sometimes if, some of the things they talk about, the stuff they already know are built, and they figure they got to wait for the right time to throw it in on us, throw it out on us, rather. That I don't know. When I say I got the first microwave, they had a device. It was a leak checker. Because at the time, it wasn't unusual for microwaves to leak around the door seals. And one of the things that the insurance, you should never stand in front of the microwave when it's running, just in case the door leaks. So I bought the leak detector, and every week I'd check it, and it was okay, because if it would have leaked out, I'd probably toss it out in the fucking trash. I gave $700 fucking dollars for the thing, which back then was a lot of fucking money. But I could afford it, so I went ahead and bought one for the wife. Yeah, exactly. It's all about marketing. So, you said now that they got artificial intelligence is a thing now. They want to incorporate it in everything. They want to put it in the new cars. Along with the kill switch, which I've talked about to some is where they want to be able to. Well, your car will determine whether you're fit to drive or not. So if you're on a trip and you're driving and you're getting a little drowsy, maybe you're just, looking around too much, Car's thinking, oh, this guy's not right. Let me shut the motor off on him. Even though you're doing, 70, 80, 90 mile an hour down the interstate, this thing will shut the fucking engine off. And then you won't have any brakes. You won't have any steering. There will be problems with this, but this is what they've actually been signed into law, I believe. It's supposed to go in all the 2026 cars from here on in. That's bullshit, man. I'm keeping my fucking old beater. I love the Yul Brynner Westworld. Yeah, that's true. That was in the movie. Yeah, the HBO took it over, made a series out of it. It did start good. I think the first 2 seasons were good. Then the third season, I lost interest in it about that time because they were just, once they destroyed Westworld itself, then the artificial humans or artificial robots, they were going out into the cities and doing their thing there, which it just took away from the whole idea, Now they have conduction rate. Oh yeah, the magnetic ones. The burner doesn't get hot, but the water boils. But you have to use specific pots on them. It won't work on a cast iron powder pan. I think they have to be steel. So the copper bottoms, I don't believe, work on them either. So, because I was looking at those years ago, Sears and Roebuck, remember Sears? They have them. And I was thinking about buying one because, we try to keep up with shit as much as we can. They weren't terribly expensive, but when I found out you could only use certain pots on them, I said, well, we had all copper bottom pots at the time and a couple of cast irons, and they wouldn't work on it. So I have to buy all new fucking cookware. Fuck that. So I bought a glass top instead because we had a conventional stove with, the burners on the top. The glass tops are nice, so I bought one of those. Now I have reason to believe that peanut allergies were created in a laboratory by Big Pharma. So it's possible. Model of Steel says 86% of people all around us are NPCs, non-player characters, for the old heads. Yeah, right. I'm not buying that. Sorry, just not. I don't think we're in a simulation. And if we are, it's a bad simulation. And how do I change it to where I'm wealthy and in better shape physically, right? And I agree with you, Ray. There's a lot of problems going on. All these, they say you develop allergies as you age, and I guess that's probably true. Soulless people, yeah, probably. I've noticed that too. Like now, I've always had an issue with perfumes. Even when I was a kid, I couldn't be around certain perfumes. Almost I couldn't breathe around them, And it seems like a lot of older people love dumping that cheap crap on them. They used to have that wall, that perfume wall would follow them. It'd be like 10 foot all the way around, so you have to get out of that 10-foot area. My ex-mother-in-law, late ex-mother-in-law, she wore this shit. It was expensive. And you're only supposed to put like a drop on, under your neck. I swear she must have dumped the whole fucking bottle on. And when she walked into her room, it was like a barrier that stretched out 10 foot in every direction. And if I got anywhere near it, I couldn't breathe. I had to leave the house. And that's really the only allergy I suffer from. But, my ex-wife, now she was allergic to bee stings. We had to carry the EpiPens. Because if she got stung, she only had like a minute before it could possibly kill her. So, but most of the people I knew weren't allergic to anything. But then again, too, as you age, you start building allergies. So it used to be perfume I was allergic to. Now anything that has a heavy scent on it bothers me. Like I yell at my wife all the time because she can't use certain. You can't use nail polish because of the I can't remember what it's called now. The chemical that's in it, I can't breathe around it. Certain air fresheners can't be around. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I always figured that because it came with age. And thank God I'm not allergic to certain foods and stuff because that would suck. John says I don't wear cologne anymore. I used to wear cologne back in the day. But, I was actually more aftershave than a cologne. I'll have a cologne too, but if it's the good stuff and your way it's supposed to work is you're not supposed to smell it like overtly. It's like perfume. One puts perfume on, acetone, that's what it was. Thanks there, Tom. If a woman puts on perfume, nobody's supposed to smell it. It's supposed to work on your olfactory senses where you're not really aware of it, but like your brain can smell it, but you can't. It's supposed to act like an aphrodisiac anyway, to a point. And that's the way it's supposed to work. But these women, like I said, they'll buy the shits $1,000 an ounce, dump the fucking whole ounce on them, and it drives men away, doesn't attract them, because nobody wants to run into a perfume wall. And the cheap stuff is even worse. But most women don't understand that you're not supposed to smell. If you can smell the perfume, like overtly, they're using it wrong and they're using too much of it. It's supposed to work on your your subconscious level. So you should be able to walk into a room. Oh, that smells good. What is it? If you can smell it, they're using it wrong. I mean, if it works on, behind the scenes, you can smell it, but not. Now, it affects your brain. Your brain say, hey, something smells good, even though you can't really smell it. And you're going to be attracted to whoever. It's like pheromones work the same way. You can't smell pheromones as a rule. But pheromones are the biggest attractant for the opposite sex if you have the right ones. I was working at the golf course. I fixed this old lady's shoes. They were flip-flops and pulled one of them out and I repaired it, And will a set of acetone? Yes, it will. Does it degrade starting? Well, yeah, well, it'll do both actually. Acetone's a pretty powerful chemical. It will fuck things up. Anyway, this woman, she gave me a bottle of cologne, expensive shit, man, and a card and some money for fixing her fucking, $5 fucking flip flops. So my boss happened to see it. He said, well, he can't take that. We're not allowed to accept gratuity. You have to turn in the office and they'll decide what to do with it. She goes, she was worth millions of dollars. She said, I'm worth X amount of dollars. I decide what I want to do with my money. And he's getting this. And if you fuck with him, I'll sue this place. Boy, was my boss pissed off, Ray says acetone will destroy Legos. Yes, it will. Any plastic act. Which I don't know if I can't remember what it's called now. The bottle of adhesive, the bondine. I don't know if that's got acetone in it. It might. I think it has some of it in there. But basically what that does is it bonds or actually melts two plastic pieces so that they become one. It's not technically a glue. It's a bonding agent, Like guys make their own. What's his face? I got one of my friends. He makes some, and he gave me a quart of it, and it's cool. I use it all the time, And he's got two different types. You got ones that dry fast and ones that dry a little slower. They say, give me the one that dries a little slower, have more working time with it. It works great on printed parts. The super glue sort of works on printed parts, but over time the parts will come apart. So it's not the best adhesive to use on PLA 3D prints. So that stuff will fuck you up too, man. That Bondine shit. You don't want to be smelling that shit because probably give you fucking brain damage. So let's see what else we got to talk about. I was supposed to be using my laptop as a monitor, and last minute, right as the intro came in, thing pops up, says, you need to reboot your computer for updates to take effect. And I'm going, what updates? I didn't approve any updates. So I never did restart. I'm going to do it now. The YouTube Shortline Thursday, because usually I monitor what's going on so I'll know if there's a potential problem. The StreamYard doesn't really let you know what's going on. MEK melts the 2 pieces of styrofoam. That's true. Yeah, it's MEK is one of the. There's 2 components, MEK and something else. At least the way my friend makes it anyway. Good, I can restore the pages. So, but that's what those bonding agents do. Oh yeah, it's working pretty good. Okay. Which makes them a really good adhesive compound, for putting parts together. Because all these things that I made here, that's what I use. The elevated stations, subway stations, elevated train stations. Now the elevated track, that's all set up with the bondine too, so works good. Yeah. No stuttering, no buffering. Yay! I'm really starting to like Starlink. It works well here, which is cool. Modeling steel and HO. Thank you, Derek MK. Yeah, well, I said MK on its own. Well, I think you're supposed to cut it with something. I thought it was acetone. I could be wrong. It might have been alcohol or something, but I said I've got a quart of it, and I saved my bottles of the Bondine, so when they're empty, I just refill them because I got the brush in them. No, like I said, I've never attempted to make my own. Sparky, did you talk Tom into getting Starlink yet? Well, Tom Kavicek, he got it before I did. He actually talked me into getting it. He was having so many problems with Comcast, so he said, it's enough. So he got it first and I got it. We're both supposed to get a free month. I submitted all of it, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know I paid for my first month, but I figured it might take time to do the free month. Yeah, he got it first. He was having big problems with his live stream with Comcast. I think they were throttling him, to be honest. And I started having problems. Now, it turns out I had a bad Ethernet cable between the router in the house and my computer out here. $160 Cat 8 Ethernet cable I spent money on. It started failing, and they do fail. So then I went to Wi-Fi instead. The Wi-Fi's got a good signal because it's not that far from the modem and the router in the bedroom. It's about maybe 30, 40 foot. It was working good. I got good speeds out of it. But then on Thursday night, right before 6 o'clock, the upload speeds would drop down to like 10, sometimes less. I'm going, what the fuck? So I'd be constantly in the red, the yellow. So finally, about 8 o'clock, 8:30, it leveled out and it stayed in the green. Maybe they figured I was already off. I don't know. But it was fine from that point on. And then every other day, I'd be watching it and it was fine. Now, it's possible that my OBS could have been causing some of the problems too. I don't know. That's why when I reloaded it, after I redid my computer, I went to an older version. And I'm going to probably test it this weekend. That's why I'm using StreamYard tonight. Well, we'll see how it goes. But I said, I think they're throttling me too, to be honest with you. Because, we don't do like half hour, 1 hour shows. We're on air for 3-4 hours. And it's probably taking a shitload of bandwidth to do it. Even though we're paying crazy money for it, they don't care. Well, he was, because they had so many problems with it. I mean, and then they'd send somebody down to fix it. The guys, I checked it out. It's fine. We don't know what the problem is. And I think a couple of times they tried to charge him $100 for a service charge. He fought it and got it off. But, I mean, that's bullshit, I mean, and he's only like 2 miles away from the Comcast station, There's no reason why his Comcast should have dropped off like that. Where I'm a little far. I'm about, I think, 12 miles away, somewhere around there. Comcasters, yeah, right. It is. It's bullshit. And I think the problem with Comcast is, A, they don't want to put any money back into the system. Maybe they know something we don't. Now, like I said, Starlink, which of course is Elon Musk, he's got something like 2,000 satellites up there already, maybe more. He puts more up every couple of weeks, And he's coming up with his own phone system now too, the Pi phone, which I plan on getting when they come out. $200. It's a smartphone, just like similar to one I got, but it doesn't use cell towers. It uses the satellites. You're always going to have a signal unless, of course, they knock the satellites out of space. And if you're over 65, for 10 years, you don't pay any fees. You buy the phone for $200, and it's free for 10 years. Probably by that time you need a new phone, so they probably will extend it. You'll get another phone another 10 years for free. But only if you're over 65. I'm thinking, shit, I'll jump on that. They haven't come out yet. They're supposed to come out sometime this year. I think they're still in the testing phase, maybe. I don't think they've got into mass production yet. Oh. But I'll wait and see what happens. And like I said, I probably will get one. $200. Shit, I paid more than that for this one. I think I paid. Well, this one was a little cheaper. The first one I bought, same brand and model. I think I paid $260 for it. I got it straight from China. It's called the Fossilbot. It's based on Galaxy, basically. It's probably the same architecture, but doesn't have the Galaxy name on it, So what happened was the first one, the speakerphone went bad in it. I don't like holding the thing up to my ear. I use a speakerphone. So I bought a second one. The second one, which was like 2 years later or a year later, something like that, it was only, I think I paid $197 for it. So, Well, that was a good question, Derek, and one that everybody asked. And according to Musk, it will work in your house. It might be a little bit degraded. They didn't say specifically. Now, I have a metal roof. And I know metal roofs and Wi-Fi are a problem to some degree. You get a degraded signal with Wi-Fi underneath the metal roof. Still works. Not quite as good as, if the metal roof wasn't there. They're saying it works inside the house and in stores, and I think the only place it won't work will be like underground, for obvious reasons. But we'll see. Like I said, what they claim and what it actually is may be two different things. Who the hell knows? I'll find out. It's a deal, though. I mean, if it is what he says it is, and that plan is great, $200, $199.99, say $200. And if you're 65 or older, it's free for 10 years. I mean, I don't pay shit now anyway. I'm with Pure Talk. My phone bill every month is $22.30. I have unlimited talk and text and 5 gigs of data, which I don't even use the data. I just run it off Wi-Fi when I'm near the house, and I hardly ever take the phone with me anyway when I go out somewhere. So, no big deal. So we'll have to wait and see how it turns out. But Musk, he's a genius, I guess, in a lot of ways. He's an idiot too, but he's a really smart one. Yeah. They said the only thing I wouldn't trust, I don't trust AI. And I don't know, he's sort of iffy. He's on the fence with AI, so it seems. He's like, well, it could be a good thing, but it could be a bad thing. We have to be very responsible with it. Makes sense to me. And they said, just don't put it in control. Nothing will be fine. That was good. So, who knows? The biggest problem we have in this country, or probably any place in the world, is the government seem to be hell bent on spying on everybody's moves. They want to know when you're awake, when you're asleep, when you're having sex, when you're bad mouthing a politician. They want to know everything. Why? The printer is doing pretty good. Gained a couple inches during the stream. Well, yeah, it's let me check something real quick here. It says it's got 32 minutes left. It's at 88%. And I could bring it up. I can't put it on the thing there, but I could look at it on my computer. Of course, I could turn around and look at it too. I really like the printer. I think it's a great. I should have bought one a long time ago, when it first came out. I'm probably going to get a second one next year. And Tom Grassi, he's got the A1. He's got the A1 Mini as a companion for it. I probably won't waste my time with a Mini. I'll just get another full-size A1. I think it was $331 with tax, free shipping. Got it from Amazon. I didn't get the AMS multicolor deal set up for it. I probably won't waste my money on it because if you buy it with the printer, it's $100 more. If you buy it after you bought the printer, it's $200 more. Kind of bullshit. But honestly, I don't really have a need to do different colors. I don't mind painting my parts. I use the basic gray filament, PLA plus. And, it's almost like a primer. Spray whatever color I want and it comes out fine. So, but I do want to check and see how small of a thing I can make. Now, I don't know if you saw Tim Grasky a couple weeks back. He printed on his A1 Mini little benches to put in his roundhouse. Those things came out beautifully. Actually, I found the file for them on Colts, I think it was. And all right, John. Well, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Same thing, modeling steel. We'll see you later. Appreciate you coming in. We'll see you next week, hopefully. Have a good and safe weekend. And don't forget to play with your cranes. So anyway, they came out perfect because when he first showed them, I said, did you resin print them? He says, no, I printed on the A1 Mini. Holy shit. I didn't think an FDM printer could print that small. And I don't think he was using an 04 nozzle, a standard nozzle, I believe. And like I said, I bought the 02 nozzle for doing really small work. I'm going to take a shot on making some small stuff. Now, this tower, switching tower, does have some tables, and I think they've got like computers on it and stuff. I'm going to try and print them on this, and if they come out well, I'll let you know. And I'm pretty sure they will. Now, I'll probably switch heads when I do that, though. I'll put the 02 on there for finer work. These are amazing machines. They really are. I said, I've got my 2 Vipers on the floor. They're retired now. I'm thinking about selling them, although I don't think I get much out of them. Probably costs more to ship them than actually buy one. I don't want to really throw them out, but I don't know what else to do with them. Now, they both work, but they're not quite as good as they were when they were new. So, I wouldn't sell it like, well, if you get this, it's going to get perfect prints. Probably won't. I mean, big stuff it seems okay with, but smaller stuff that you can normally, 3D print on an FDM printer, they're going to be a little fuzzy now. I think the machines are just plain wore out, And I got a lot of hours on them, so like I said, maybe I'll donate them or something. I don't know. One of the charities around here or something. Don't know. I'll figure it out, though. The last time I shipped a printer was to Wilmer. It didn't quite make it one piece by the time it got to his house. Of course, they must have fucking used that box as a punching bag. The box was destroyed. And so was the printer. And thank God I insured it because, they paid me for it. And I paid Wilmer back the money he gave me for the printer. So we all came out ahead in that deal, sort of. So I'm a little, leery about shipping a printer now, too, for that reason. So, But they're just taking up space right now. It's not that big of a deal, but, I shove them under the bench and forget about them. Now, the last printer I had, which was the Annette, that was the ET4, which is very similar to the Vipers or even the A1. I stripped that down, kept all of the usable parts on, like the servos. And I think I kept any electronics because I really couldn't do anything. I'd buy a printer from you, but you'd have to deliver it. Yeah, fuck that. It costs more to ship it up to Canada than it would cost to buy it new. Free shipping. Nah, not likely. Nice try, though. Yes, Chuck, I do. And the reason I say it is because John Tanzillo, he was printing. I saw the video of it because Tom Grassi sent it to me. He was printing a pickup truck in N scale. And I don't think he was using the smaller nozzle either. And that thing came out good, I think, with a standard nozzle. So if it came out that good with an 04, it's probably going to come out even better with an 02. That's why I bought the 02 for doing really small detail work. I might even try and do like a figure, because I know damn good well I couldn't do figures on the Viper, you know. And I was worried about doing anything in N scale. I think the only N scale I ever did on the Viper was the cell tower. I designed the cell tower, and I didn't have a resin printer yet, so I had a resin, you know, I had to film and print everything. So there you go. Derek says, Sparky, you can pick it up when you visit. I'll give it to you, man. Shit, I don't care. You know, if you wanted one, like I said, it works, but you know, I give it to you for free. I don't give a shit just to get out of my hair. Sparky says, my mom always said, if the worst you can ever get is the word no, then it's worth asking. Oh, well, free shipping. Yeah, right. Chuck says, okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. There you go. John says, no harm in asking, Spark. Yeah, there you go. Whereas I thought that too, Derek, but I bet it'd still be cheaper to buy a new one after border fee. Oh, it would. And according to James up in Canada, he says a lot of shit up there costs ridiculous money because a lot of it comes from America, you know, and the shipping fees and the duty taxes. Fuck that, man. I said, yeah, I think, you know, I'd arrange for somebody in the States to order it and you just drive over and pick it up. You know, that would make more sense because it's ridiculous. So, yeah, no, Sparky, if you come down here and I'll give you one, man. Seriously. It's no big deal. Just, you know, I just can't afford to ship one up to Canada. Like I said, I bought them new. I think I paid 170 for one and 190 for the other. One's a year newer than the other one, and it probably cost twice that to ship it. I know shipping to Canada is crazy. That is in October, so we will see. Okay, yeah, no problem. I'm sure it'll still be here. You know, I don't mind helping somebody out, and I said it'll get it out of my hair, and I'm no big deal. See what else. I mean, you can get into the cool stuff you can make with a 3D printer, and they're very easy to use. The filament's extremely cheap. I use the Sunlu filament. I get it on Amazon. I just bought 4 spools. They're 1 kilogram each, or 2.2 pounds, I think. I got 4 spools for $47. Free shipping. Now they make refills because I found out that the spools come apart and you can put a refill in them and put it back together. And I think that the refills are probably something like, they've got to be cheaper because you don't have to deal with the spool. I'll have to look and see when I'm ready for them. It'll be a while. Of course, I have a Mars 3. I just have to find a place to set it up and set it up. That's a resin printer, right? Too damn lazy after working 60 hours. I don't blame you, man. That's a lot of working days. Aren't you getting ready for retirement soon? I mean, you got to be getting up there in age, I would think. Yes, resin. Okay. And resin printers are great too, but like I said, I've got 2 of them. I got the Creality Hallet 1, and I've got the Anycubic Mono 2. They're good machines. Fuck no, you're only 55. Oh, damn kids. Hey, you got 10 years to go, man. I thought you were older than that. Sorry. They're good to have, but if I could do the same thing on the A1, I may not even need the resins anymore. I'll keep one just for shits and giggles. But, we'll see how it does because I print a lot of stuff. I was printing a lot of stuff on the resin printer because you get the difference between the resin and the filament is, though, the filament is stronger than the resin is. Hey, Anthony, Georgia Sunbelt. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Hey, Jim, MRRs, only 2 hours late. One nice day this week. Had to get some yard work done before it goes on the market. Okay. Oh, your house goes on the market. Okay. That's right. You're going to be moving soon, won't you? Hopefully. That'll be cool. Bet you'll be glad to get the hell out of Maryland, huh? Sparky, does Canada have something similar to Social Security? That's a good question. Do they? Well, you probably get a pension anyway because you work for the power company. Yeah, I was old age pension. There you go. Okay, it's like Social Security. That works. Pay squad. Oh yeah, probably compared to what you're making now, because I'd get paid a pittance compared to what I used to make. I'm on disability, which is similar. I would have actually made more on Social Security if I retired at 65, but I went on disability at 47 because of the stroke, and I actually got screwed over on it and unfortunately, they do not convert you over to Social Security when you turn 65. Because I'm 66 now, and I'm still on disability, which sucks because I'd be getting like almost $3,200 a month on Social Security, where I only get 1,700, actually less than 1,600 on disability. So they're not going to put me on Social Security because it'll cost them more money. Yeah. Based on salary setup. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Oh, it is what it is. So, it's something. And of course, we still have to worry here in the States that Social Security may run out of money, supposedly in 2032, which isn't that far down the road. But I find it hard to believe they're going to let it collapse because you got like 60% of the population's over 65. A lot of us are armed. It would be a good idea to piss off old armed people. you know, and there could be a hanging party in Washington. So I think they're gonna fix Social Security before it does go broke. I think right now they're kind of testing the waters, because they're already talking. Well, 2032, you may have to take a $450, decrease in your monthly payments. Like, are you kidding me? They get paid shit now. You want to take even more? And then the bastard just gave themselves a 230% raise. Congress did. I didn't vote for that. How come you didn't ask me? Motherfuckers, Yeah. You don't give yourself a raise and then tell me you don't have the money to pay my Social Security. That ain't going to end well for you guys. So I think they'll fix it. But still, they're injecting as much fear porn as they can. They figure if you make more money, you be smart and buy ROSPs. But I figure the world will blow up before I could collect it. But shit, I'm almost there and the world's still here. Well, I don't think the world's going to blow up. I mean, it could. It won't matter if it does, Well, I'll be dead, right? John says, GSP can't wait to get out of Virginia. Yeah, all the place. Virginia, they your new governor there, she's a piece of work. And I'm being polite. I don't know what the hell's wrong with that state, man. Oh, RRSP is Registered Retirement Savings Plan. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? And then the worst part is they piss away so much money on stupid shit. And I don't know about up in Canada, but here, Social Security is our money. It's not an entitlement like they keep trying to tell us. Well, it's an entitlement. We don't even have to give it to you. Well, you fucking took it from me, you know, every month or every paycheck, you took money out for Social Security. So yeah, it's my money and I want it back. Anthony goes, LOL, Sparky. You'll see the world to its end, probably. Virginia governor just added 20. I know. Well, she's nuts. And then it's all going to be challenged, Derek, you know, because what she's doing is unconstitutional and it actually flies in the face of the Supreme Court's latest edict on guns. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's ridiculous, you know. And fucking Democrats, man. What the hell's wrong with people? Anthony says, don't blame me, John, especially new government. Yeah, absolutely. Stamberger is Hillary Jr. Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know why people elect them. I mean, how are they getting elected? I think they're cheating, to be honest with you. You had a good governor in there in place that actually fixed up Virginia because the one before him fucked it all up anyway. He fixed it, and now this bitch is going to fuck it all up again. The new word is demo rats. That's true. Ain't no doubt about that. Man, they're fucking. They should be classified as a terrorist organization. They ain't no better than a terrorist, you know. And believe me, if they thought they'd get away with killing us, they would do it in a heartbeat. You know, and they basically admitted it. We want to kill all the MAGA people. We want to kill all the Republicans. Well, you can go ahead and try and see how it's not going to end well for you, but you know. And of course, that's why they want to disarm us, because once they take our guns, we're all dead. Not now off the park. There you go. She never told anyone she was a radical, claimed to be a moderate until elected. And bam. Well, but that's what they do. Look at Ma'am Danny up in New York City, the mayor. He's going to, we're going to do this, everything's going to be free, you're going to live in a great life. And I mean, people were probably dumb enough to believe it and they voted for him, and now look where they're at. You know, now they want to hang them. Hopefully they'll succeed. Look at that printer go, Zoo. I know, that thing flies, doesn't it? Tom Grass said the Democrats have the Homeland Security shut down for 40 plus days. And you know, the funny thing is that we're putting ICE agents at the airport. Really pissing off the Democrats. Like, what do you think was going to happen? You know. I knew she was bad news from the get-go, but idiots elected her. Well, did they or didn't they? Like I said, they're known to cheat, and that seems to be the only way they can get in. What am I printing, Anthony? A switching tower for the layout. That's the only part of it. I've got the main building, which is the tall thing that you see there, the upper and lower supports, the staircase, and a bench. Then I've got about 15 other files that have to be printed up to complete it. So, hey, Jesse, how's it going? GRE 2057. John says she's in Obama's pocket, probably. Yeah, I was just telling Anthony I'm printing a switching tower for the layout. And that's part of it. And so far it's coming out pretty good. And it should be, I think it's almost done too. I think it'll be done probably by about 8:15 or so. And that thing does, I mean, it flies. You know. It made the Viper, the Anycubic Viper, look like a turtle. And this is the hair, you know. They said, looks like your internet is working good finally. Well, I'm not using OBS tonight because I'm not done with it yet. My computer was down for a week. Long story, I won't get you have to watch the replay. But over the weekend, I'm going to test OBS. And hopefully it works good, because otherwise I may have to stay with StreamYard. I don't dislike StreamYard, but I'm on the pay plan right now. It's very expensive. I kind of got snookered into paying for a month, $88, which is nuts. So we'll see. I don't know. Probably not. Well, you'll see parts of it, but I'll have it completed by next week's show, and I'll probably do a video on it anyway as I'm assembling it. Sparky said I dropped the paid plan of StreamYard. Well, I guess it could be. The only reason I did it because, like I said, I was having problems with OBS. I said, screw this. I'm going to use StreamYard. I hadn't used StreamYard in like over a year or two. No, it was on Colts, Tom. Maybe it was on Thingiverse, but I got it through Colts. It was free. The problem I had with StreamYard, everything was free. You know, they had a paid plan. It was like $12 a month, which I thought was too expensive anyway. But I had all the features that I needed. I mean, you still only had one camera. There's ways around that. And of course, had my intro and outro, and matter of fact, I forgot to even put this on. Where did it go? My banner. Turn it on. See, I got the banner back on now. I always forget to turn it on. I don't know why it isn't automatic. But anyway, so I couldn't do anything under the free plan. At least it looked that way anyway. So they, well, this sucks. So they had a $1 7-day trial for $1. So I got it, and I figured I'll just cancel it after I'm done with it, right? So I waited till the 7th day to cancel the trial. I was like an hour too late. They'd already taken my $88, and they weren't giving it back. So it kind of sucked, and that's ridiculous money. I mean, I couldn't afford to do that every month, you know. Jim, the banner does come out automatically. It does on your screen. I could probably set it up to do that. I don't know. Because if I turn it on during the intro, it actually comes on. And it shouldn't be on during the intro. So I might not be doing something correctly. But you'll see, like up in this right corner up here, I got my logo up there. It's Shortline Thursday because, you know, when you pay the $88, that's one of the bennies you get plus multiple cameras. But that's ridiculous money. If I had money coming in from, you know, YouTube, I would probably do it, but I don't. That's money out of my pocket, man. So I said it'll go back to the free thing again. I think at the end of this month, maybe. Yeah, I think so. We'll see. I might play with it and see if I can still get some of the things to work in case I still have problems with OBS. But I could also do what Tom Kovichak does. He's running vMix, and it does the same thing as OBS, but you have to buy that. But you can do a lifetime license on it. It's like $300 or $400. I would do that before I'd pay $88 a month for StreamYard. And the vMix has all kinds of options, just as good as, if not better than StreamYard. You could do guest. You got all kinds of things you could do on the stream. You know, you're framing, and it's really cool. I mean, that's one thing I like about Tom's, you know, show. He's got all that cool shit that vMix has in it. So if OBS has a problem and it doesn't work right for me, more than likely I'll go ahead and invest in vMix. We'll see. So it's like I said, it's, you know, and once again, you know, I get used to something. I don't like change, you know. I'll get good at a program. It's like, well, now I got to do something else, something new. I got to relearn everything. That pisses me off. And, you know, that was why I couldn't do Linux, because Linux probably isn't as bad as I'm making it out. Maybe it is. But I mean, I've been with Windows since Windows came out. And now this is a whole new OS, and supposed to emulate Windows. The only thing it emulated was the face of it. It looked like Windows when you brought it up, but underneath the mask was Linux. It wouldn't really run Windows programs that well, if at all. And Linux has a very uh, limited amount of software that you can use on it. And like I said, I paid $300, $350, I think. It was either $250 or $350 for Camtasia. That's my editing program. It's a kind of a lifetime license. Of course, I did it was $50 a year for updates, and they would renew it. I'm up to 2024 on it. I shut it down because spending too much money. I may redo it again and have the maintenance contract again, so I'll get a new version every year. But I like it. I've gotten very well used to it. I don't want to change, and I don't want to go to something else. Plus, I already paid for it, and it won't run on Linux. So this is where I'm at with this whole bullshit. It's just like I said. It's done. I like the funny noise it does. I give it a few minutes to cool off, and I can remove everything. Otherwise, it's a little tough to get off the build plate. And we'll see what we got. But so that's what I'm saying. If I would have started with Linux and gotten used to it, I'd probably be fine. I would have probably had an issue with Windows, because Windows would have been different. But when you're with something your entire life almost, and then somebody throws something else on, it's like, well, that ain't gonna work. So I just don't like change. It's as I said. My wife asked me, "You ever going to sell the house and we'll move somewhere else?" No, we're going to die here. I don't like moving. I did a lot of moving when I was younger because we didn't own anything yet. It was rentals, and either raise the rent or the landlord would decide he had enough of me and boot me out. When the lease expired. I don't like moving around. It's a pain in the ass. I don't want to do this again. Jim, did you install the Bamboo Labs app on your phone? And it will alert you when. No, I didn't put it on the phone. I've got the Wi-Fi from the computer. I got the app for it. I didn't install the app. You know how I feel about phones. So, because I know you can monitor it through the phone too, because it's got camera on it, which I think is also cool. I probably will at some point, because originally I didn't even want to put it on, on the Wi-Fi, because it actually uses the cloud, I think, to, go from your computer to there. But it's a pain in the, and it's funny because I've been doing this for the last 10, 12 years, moving, recording on an SD drive, take it out, put it in the machine. And I did that the first couple of times, and I said, this is bullshit. I'm just going to use the Wi-Fi app, or the Wi-Fi program. And it was easy to set up, so I went ahead and set it up. Runs on both computers, this one or the one in the house. And I got full control over the internet. So we'll see. Now, I like keep things simple too, but I find as I get older, I'm getting lazier. Because that wouldn't have been an issue, say, 5 years ago. I don't mind getting up and pulling a card. Well, as I get older, I'm getting lazier. So, this has a removable magnetic plate, which is kind of handy. One piece, two pieces. There's a bent. Another piece. I know you can't see this stuff because I'm off camera. Sorry. I got everything off the build plate. Yeah. Oh. I'll finish the rest of it tomorrow. I'll load it up because I don't really like leaving it run when I'm not attending it. But this is the main building. They've got supports on there, which just peel right off. That's another nice thing too, because when I used supports on the Viper, they were a motherfucker to get them off. Yeah. I got some inside supports I got to get off, but this is the building. You can see it's in good shape. I mean, it does a nice job on it. Excuse me. These are the supports, and they go. Let me see if I can do this without breaking anything. If I remember correctly. No, can't do that. Go like that. Now we switch cameras. You can see what the hell I'm doing. All right, so this is what I did. So I've got these two pieces here. You put them together. I'll have to glue them down, but they go like that. The building actually goes in the center, which there you go. There's actually a right way and a wrong way to set it down in there. I see there's a right and wrong way to do all this stuff here. Which I'm not going to fool with it too much right now, but it all sits down, and then there's another piece that goes on the top. There's an antenna. I don't have any often. Yeah, I've got some clear filament, so I'll probably use that to make the windows. And then you got, like I said, you got the spiral staircase, which you probably have to make a few of these, I imagine. Let me switch back to the other camera. There we go. Spiral staircase. I imagine you have to make a few of these to get it up because it has to go up to the top of the tower. And then we have a table here. It's pretty tiny. And it does a good job on it. It's a clean print, so I'd say overall I'm pretty satisfied with it. Not technically, John. I mean, you should let it cool off a little bit because when it's hot, you could deform it. And like this here, this is a screw up. I'm gonna have to reprint this one. You can see where it's a little warped on the edge. I'm gonna move it to a different location on the build plate because this one here came out perfectly. It was behind it. So I'm gonna make another one of these. This is basically a throwaway. Actually, I think this is the bottom, actually. Yeah, I think it is. This is the bottom and the other one's the top. I had it backwards. Anyway, so I'll make another one of those tomorrow. But that's really the only thing. There's no curing per se. Like the resin prints, you have to wash them off, put them in a curing tank or curing box, And then at some point, you could safely handle them without gloves. Thompson Jim, Bamboo Labs adhesive will stop the curling. Yeah, it will. I don't think you can use. You might be able to use a heat gun. I mean, but it's so cheap. I'll just make another one. I generally don't use the adhesive, but if it becomes a problem, I'll get some. You know, or you could, like I said, you could use the stick glue too. That's what I used to use before they had the magnetic build plates. You know, my first printer had a glass top, and you had to use glue on it or hairspray, or the print wouldn't stick to it. And they're saying that if it's a problem here, they, like you said, they have the adhesive that can help with that. But we'll see. If it does it again, I'll have to get the adhesive. But if not, sometimes it's just a matter of putting it in the right place, you know. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll find out tomorrow. Yeah, I'm very happy with that printer. I'll tell you what, best money I've spent in a while. Now, the only thing I don't have on it's a battery backup, because I've got battery backup on the computer, Starlink, and I had one for the resin printer because I know if you have a power failure, you can restart it after the power failure and pick up where you left off. The resin printer, you can't do that. You lose your print. So if you're like 90% done, the power glitches for a second, you throw away the print because you can't restart it. So I bought the backup for the 3 devices, and that would take care of that. Now later on, well, actually, I've got one in the house that I've got for for Comcast. My equipment, you know, the backup is. I'll probably put it here for this printer because I won't need it in the house anymore, because I said the main components of Starlink are out here and they're already covered, you know, surge protection and battery backup. Let's see here. DMRJ, hey DMRJ, how you doing? Dan. Stick glue seems essential for larger prints or prints placed toward the edge. That's the thing, I think, because they're toward the edges. Because I had this one like right in the corner where the rest of the prints were kind of, you know, in the middle of the plate, more or less. So like I said, if I move it, it'll probably be okay. And that was the problem I had on the Viper too. And like I said, larger prints or prints that were near the edge of the plate. Got a sneeze coming. Oh, thank you. They would warp on occasion. Now, one of the things I found that would actually help with that would be to raise the bed temperature. I could do that on this, but I prefer to let it do its own thing. So, because I think the bed temperature on this is like, I think 70 or 80 Celsius. Same thing with the filament heat is, I think that's running at 220 or 225. It's actually pretty high for PLA, but hey, if it works, I'm not going to mess with it. You know what I'm saying? Because like on the Viper, I had my build plate temperature was usually around 50 Celsius. And the filament temperature was right around 195 to 200 Celsius. So it was significantly lower on that. And that's what they recommended. So that's what I stuck with. Because I usually go by the actual filament. They'll tell you on the box what the nominal temperatures should be. But like I said, I let the A1 decide, and it seems to do well. So I'm not worried. Like I said, you know, what am I looking at here? This is about 10 cents, maybe. You know, I got no problem throwing a dime away. If it was $1, I'd probably be, that's a lot. But, you know, it's literally, you could build this stuff for, you know, pennies. It might even be cheaper now because, like I said, I got 4 spools for $47. That's about what, $11 a spool thereabouts, 11 and change. That's pretty damn cheap because before that I was paying $13 a spool, and I was buying quantities of 5, and 5 spools would run me about $80. So prices are coming down on that, thank God. But I try and keep a fairly decent stock in at least 3 or 4 rolls here, because you never know. It is what it is. So, but I'm pleased with it. Like I said, it does a nice job. There's clean lines on this. I don't see any imperfections at all. I'm very impressed with it. And even the stairwell, I mean, well, you can see that in there, probably not well. But there's little stairs in there. I'll turn these lights on, maybe that'll help. My fat finger's out of the way. Yeah, I don't know if you can sort of see the stairs in there. Yeah, there you go. They're clean. There's no distortions in them. I couldn't do this with the Viper. It wouldn't have came out this well. It would have had probably some stray hairs, and it would have been. It wouldn't have been this good. So I'm impressed. Oh, these lights are blinding. So, like I said, this is the way to go. And I'm usually late to get new tech anyway. So, and the only reason I jumped into it because Tom Grassi bought one, and I was seeing what he was printing. I'm going, holy shit, that's some good stuff, man. So I got to get one of them. So I finally, and the only reason I bought one as quick as I did, I don't know if you guys have been keeping an eye. It kind of died out, but it was big news for a few weeks there. California wants to restrict the sale and use of 3D printers because you could print guns with them, which once again, I wouldn't shoot a 3D printed gun. Be afraid of that fucking thing blowing up in my hand, But that was the excuse they're using. The way they wanted to do it was they wanted to put firmware in the printers. That means that before you could print something, it would go in the cloud. You'd have to actually get permission to print whatever you wanted to print. If it resembled a firearm or a firearm part, you couldn't print it. So if you wanted to make like those handles they got for like spray cans or trigger things, you can print those. Well, under those laws, you wouldn't be able to print one because that looks like the butt of a gun. It's bullshit. So I said, I'm going to buy one before they go fucking it up. So I actually bought one probably about 4 or 5 months sooner than I originally planned on. Anthony says probably dive into 3D printing after I move and get things. Yeah, I'll tell you, Anthony, it'll be the best money you spent. If you have the imagination, you learn how to design stuff. It's not hard. I use Tinkercad online to make most of my stuff. And, and plus there's a lot of free shit out there too. And there's some things you pay for, but that's up to you if you want to pay. Man, you can't go wrong with 3D printing. I mean, literally you could print anything almost, And you could print a gun, but I wouldn't do it. But if you choose to, that's your fucking business, I printed a fake Colt 45, 1911. Just it wasn't real. I mean, it was just a plastic bottle, and I printed it, and I think blue, so you could tell it was fake. I just wanted to see what kind of how accurate it would be and how detailed it was, and it was. I did it on the Viper many years ago, or no, I did it on the ET4, the Annette, and it did a beautiful job. I still have it somewhere, you know. DMR. Dan says I use Onshape to design. I've heard it. I'll have to check it out. The only problem with Tinkercad is it's very limited. Like most of the stuff I make are straight lines or curves. But like there's some things that you really can't print on Tinkercad. So or design on Tinkercad is very limited. But most of the stuff I have is like buildings, certain models, piece of cake, you know. I said I was working on this for Ray Gigliotti. What the hell do I do with it? I wasn't successful because this little device here, it clamps onto a PS5, PlayStation 5, and their golf game. And the premise is this will go over one of the control knobs, and it'll grab the knob, and it's supposed to be able to twist it and change your angle of your golf club. So if you slice or whatever, you can correct it with this. So I almost had it, but I need to have the controller in my hands. I've been fooling with this thing for 3 weeks, and I just can't get it right because I'm relying on pictures, and that doesn't work. So I don't know if he's going to send me a controller or not. If he does, fine. If not, no big deal. But now, I said I designed. If I can get this damn thing apart now. This part was part of a pre-existing file, which I was able to utilize. But what I call here is the ring and the insert. These I designed myself. And I did this on Tinkercad, and it worked just fine. There's just two little pieces here. This is the insert, and this is the ring that it sits in. The problem with this one here is it grabs the knob all right, but it doesn't allow enough travel forward or back on the knob, which she needs to play the game. And as I said, my problem is I've got to, I got to see it, hold it in my hand and say, okay, I can measure it out, figure out what I need to do, and then I could design the project. But to design off pictures, I just can't do it. I tried. Let's see here. Tom Grass says, Jim, you send me the STL files for the tower. All right, I'll do that. I'll send it to you tonight before I go home. You'll like it. It's a nice looking tower. I thought, for a modern tower, it was a pretty good one because I didn't like any of the old. I've got an old fashioned. It's actually made out of cardboard, I think, that I got one of those wood kits. It's okay, but I wanted something newer, and of course I need more than one anyway. I'll probably put this up on the second level in the yard. So, and maybe one even before the helix when that goes in. We'll see. Plus I wanted to print something, so that's what I did. Well, I'm home, but I'm not in the house. I'm in the shed. So, like I said, when I walk up here and go to the main house, I'll send you the file before I do that. So, because I thought I was going to have to do this from the house, but I said I got the computer up and running for the most part, so I was able to get away with it. The Sugar Shack is his second home. Yeah, that's what the wife would tell you anyway. Yeah, we go with it. You're never home. I try, but this is where everything is. I mean, when I go home usually at night, I go home usually around 6 o'clock. I make dinner for one or both of us. She doesn't always eat, but if she wants to eat, I'll make dinner for both of us. Eat dinner. And I'm in for the night, and I'll watch TV and till midnight, and then I'll go to bed, And the next morning, at some point, usually around 11 o'clock in the morning, I'll come back out here because, in the early morning hours, I just, I'm still sort of half asleep. And I want to usually wait for lunch. I'll do my lunch over there. And then after lunch, I come over here. So I have this, whatever you want to call it, routine. And, but she goes, you're always over in the shack. I know. But, and I would stay at home more, but I really don't have a lot to do over there. And so I was like, I'd rather get something accomplished over here than to sit there and actually do nothing. So it is what it is. But, and I do a lot of things. Like my wife bought their kits, of course. I told her to quit doing it. She still does. Yeah, that's what retirement is like, basically. Because you don't have to go to work anymore. You do what the hell you want, when you want, how you want. Anyway, so she bought these chairs or stools. Because we have a cafe table, I guess you call it. It's kind of tall. She's got it like in the dining room kitchen area. And she likes to work on, because she has a laptop as well as her big computer. She likes the laptop more than she likes the regular computer. Because, I fixed it. It's a little quicker now. But she didn't have a place to sit because the table sits about this high from the ground, So she did some stools. So she bought these cheap ass stools. Of course, you have to assemble them. I hate assembling shit. Everything she buys, assembly required, and you know who gets to assemble it? This guy. It wasn't hard, but it's a pain in the ass. So I put those together last night for her while I was watching TV. Just set up my desk. I got set up, and I got my electric screwdriver that I bought. I brought that over there. It was easier than bringing a drill over there. And, they had hex screws in them. So I got the hex bit, zip, 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 and it was done and ready to go. So, I'll take care of shit when I have to, but I just don't like doing it. And she's always roping me into this stuff. Derek says, no rush and no, well, that's true. There really isn't, my wife kind of bitch. She says, you just do what you want when you want to. Well, that's retirement, I don't have a job to go to. I don't have to answer to anybody. Not that I ever really did anyway, because usually my own boss, so I didn't care, And not much different from retirement, except that, I was more of a better watchdog on my work than, I didn't fuck around. My shop opened up at 8 o'clock, and I was there to open up at 8 o'clock. But I don't have that issue anymore. Tom says, I get up every morning, feed the dog, play a while, have breakfast, then into the train room to work on a project. See? That's what I'm saying, man. That's your life now. For the most part. I mean, I know you have Barbara. She's your girlfriend. And I'm sure you guys do things together every now and then. But, But basically, what you do now is your life. And that's what you're going to do probably until the day you fucking die. And ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I hope I could do it. I hope I never have to go into a home. That would suck. You'd probably read about me in the news or in the newspaper if that does happen, because I ain't going down without a fight. And me and nursing homes don't get along. So, but, hopefully I can do this until, that day comes. Hopefully it won't be anytime soon. But, and I'm okay with that, I tell the wife to say that, find it, I bought her photography equipment. She has her P900. I bought her the computer, and I actually bought her a laptop too. And all the accessories for the camera. I said, have at it, man. Go out and photograph shit, That's your hobby. It's not that expensive. I mean, initially it was. Hell, I paid a fortune for the camera and the computer, but, But basically, it's not like this. This is an ongoing expense. When you're in the trains, well, you guys know it because you're all there too. You can't just spend X amount of dollars and then you're done, because you're never really done with layout. But photography, you can. So, and then she likes to do, other weird things, like crafts, arts and crafts. And that's basically kind of free too, to some degree. And you got all kinds of things you can do. Find something you like to do, and that's what you do, you know. And I'm trying to get her in here involved with me because I printed her a bunch of stuff. She has her building out here on the layout. That's her, Debbie's Glass and Jar Company. And I printed. She asked me to, I need a vehicle. I want some cats. I want a bunny or two. I'm gonna need a bear. She has all this crap she wants to put in there, which is fine. And so I printed all up for her, most of it, fencing, all that. So I said, well, you know how to come in here and start working on it. That's your hobby. That's your job. Do I know? I'll get around to it. She's waiting to fix her eyes. And I think, well, she does to get the second eye, the cataract fixed the 31st of this month. So that'll be good. Then she won't have any more excuses. So, but that's it. I says, I think we're not rich. We can't afford to go out to fine restaurants every night. Can't even afford to do it once a week. I mean, it's ridiculous. We can't afford to travel anywhere. We simply don't have the money. I said, this is your life until you die. And she's still kind of, I think she, having a tough time with it, but ultimately that's what it comes down to. Now what would I do if I didn't have trains? I know I'd find something, but I pick trains because I like trains and, I sort of afford it. And that's my hobby now. Before this, I used to build cars. Can't really do that anymore. And it's very expensive anyway. Used to be able to build an engine for around $1,200. Now it's like 12,000. I can't afford that shit. So realistically, this is a reasonable hobby to get into. But yeah, I mean, and I used to be a workaholic to some degree. When I had my shop, I was working 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. And if I was getting burnt out, I said, I got to stop doing this shit. So I rolled it back 5 days a week and, 8 or 9 hours a day. That's it. And if I didn't get it done, well, tough shit. You'll have to wait till the next day. I was too busy worrying about, oh, we got to have my car or this. I realize that, but, I won't do you any good if I'm dead. So, So I learned the hard way that, you have to set limits because I was always that way. Overtime was not a big deal. Working 60 hours a week was normal for me, but after a while you figure out this isn't worth, you're not really making any more money. You're just running yourself on the ground. What's the point? So, like I said, if you're ready for retirement or whether you have a choice, and I wasn't either. I didn't think I'd ever get to retire. I figured I'd work until I died. The stroke that I had back in 2007 changed all that. Now that I couldn't work anymore, not really. So, that's where I'm at. But like I said, my entire life I've spent thinking, you know what? There's some things I have control over and other things I don't. What's that old saying goes? Lord, give me the ability to change what I can and the wisdom to accept what I can't change and the wisdom to hide the bodies I had to kill because they pissed me off. I might not have said that right, but something to that effect. I used to have that saying somewhere, and I don't know whatever happened to it, but and to some degree it's true, well, except for the body part. But there's some things you can control, and there's some things you can't. And what you can control, you do, but what you can't have no control over, you just have to accept. Did my life turn out exactly the way I planned? Not exactly. I went from making $7,000 a month profit to 1,600. That's a big fucking change, you know. I never worried about money in the past because it was always there, you know. Even when I had my shop, I think I made like 150,000 the first year I was in operation, which at that time was good money, you know. So it is what it is. But I think as men, we do bet we have a better grasp of the situation. You know, retirement. Where women not so much. You know, because women are on that whole. You know, they got the empty nest thing going. My wife said we need to adopt a Chinese baby. You're out of your fucking mind. You know, I'm 66 years old. I'm done with kids. You know, I see the grandkids every now and then, and that's fine. We see them for a few hours and then they go away. I don't want them living with me, and I damn sure don't want to raise a child from, you know, toddler on up. I don't give a fuck what they are, you know. I just ain't doing it. That time is done. Now it's my time. So it took a while to get that through her head. We weren't going to adopt any babies, especially Chinese ones. Not that I'm racist or anything, just, you know, the whole idea, you know. So, you know, but that's the thing. Like I said, women, they have a different outlook on life. And I think they harp more on the past, you know. My life didn't turn out the way I want, and I'm mad. I said, well, you can't change it. So just accept it and move forward, you know. My life didn't go the way I thought it would either, you know. And don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful to be alive, you know, and in relatively decent shape, you know, but that wasn't the way I planned it. I thought, you know, I was going to work literally till I dropped dead. Didn't work out that way. So, you know, like I said, it's just some guys look forward to it. And I think the ones that really look forward to it already have hobbies, you know. Now, my ex late father in law from my first marriage, great guy. He was a professional chef, but he had severe heart problems. He had a pacemaker. And back in those days, they used to bury it in your belly, pacemaker. They were only good for a couple of years, and you had to keep getting new ones every couple of years. I mean, I've got pacemaker, and I think I'm on my last year on it now, but the next one will be good for like 10 or 12 years. This one was good for 7. But it was so bad that they told you can't do anything anymore. You can't mow your lawn because if you accidentally got shocked by a lawnmower, it would kill you. You couldn't use a microwave oven because it could kill you. You couldn't fix things around the house that were electric because they could kill you. I mean, he literally went from a fully functional 5-star chef to half a man, you know. And he had a tough time with it, but, you know, he did what he could, but I felt bad for him. But, you know, but he had no hobbies. Because I talking to him one day. Like I say, he was in his early 70s before he died. But I was talking to him one day, and I said, because me and him got along great. Me and my mother-in-law not so much, but me and him got along real well. He liked me, I liked him, and he used to buy this fucking cheap ass beer. It's called Dunks. I don't know if you ever heard of it or not. The shit was like $2 a 6-pack. You know, it's back in the 80s. You know. Still, that was really cheap. And actually, no, because he couldn't cook anymore either because electric stove. So my mother-in-law, late ex-mother-in-law, she had to cook, and she didn't like that shit because she was a terrible cook. Because he did all the cooking before all this happened, you know. So, but anyway, so I'm talking to him, and I said, you know, you need a hobby. I said, you're just existing. And his day was he'd wake up in the morning, crack of dawn, wander around aimlessly till around noon, crack open one of those cheap dunk beers, and watch a little bit of TV. He'd take a nap, wake up again, have dinner, another beer. He wasn't a drunk or anything, but, you know, I don't think you could get drunk off that crap anyway. And then ultimately go to bed around, 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. That was his day. And I said, dude, I said, I don't know how you can live like that. You need a hobby. He said, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. There's got to be something you can do. Build model ships or something. You got good eyesight. You got steady hands. So, yeah, you could actually do that. It's not very expensive. And, well, he got pensions and all that shit anyway from, being a chef. So and plus he had no problem with money. He had plenty of money. But he just wasn't into any hobbies. And then ultimately he died. And I think he died from probably boredom. Yeah. So I mean, it's rough, and that's what I said. You need a hobby. Now, fortunately, all you guys and me, we all got the same hobby. We're in the trains. Great hobby, kind of pricey, but thanks to 3D printing and other tricks and whatever, we found ways to make it somewhat affordable. And once you got all your rolling stock and your locomotives, the rest is not that big of a deal, because that's really the most expensive part of the hobby is the rolling stock and the locomotives. I mean, and I said any new locos I buy now, they might even be used, and they're going to be DC. I'll convert them myself. I just converted that switcher I bought, the SW1200, and put DCC in that one. I can't see paying $300 or $400 for a locomotive. It's nuts. Remember I told you guys I was going to buy one of those True Fans? It was $412. It was a pre-order. I canceled the pre-order a couple weeks ago because I figured, you know what? I don't fucking need that. It's cool. Is it worth $412? Not really. I said, I'd rather take that $400 and put it on I could buy a bunch of shit for the layout for that. I could build the helix for that. So I canceled the pre-order. I don't really need it, Because I think the pre-order would have been in, I think, in another 2.5 months thereabouts. It was almost a year when I first pre-ordered it before it would have came in. So, like I said, I'm not afraid to, be a little more responsible with my spending because, I got other things that I'd rather put the money into. They said that $400 will probably damn near build the floor and the shed for the second room. It won't cover the interior, the wiring or anything, but the basic structure, I think it'll take care of. So that's the plan. I'm okay with that. So, it is what it is. But yeah, you got to have a hobby. Retirement's okay. I mean, retirement would be great if we were all wealthy. Most of us are not. As far as I know, none of us are. Well, some of you guys are holding back. But we still have our hobbies and we'll figure out how to get through them. And I think it's going to give us a better quality of life and probably live a little longer and healthier because of it. I hope anyway. That's all I got to say on it. Now what sucks is now, Anthony, you're moving, so that means you're basically going to have to start over again for the most part, right? I mean, I know you'll be able to salvage most of your layout. Be able to salvage all your bench work, or you're going to have to start over with that? Because I know that's not really the biggest part of it, but it's still work to build a new bench work and stuff. So, because that's what I did. I couldn't bring my bench work from Naples and bring it up here. I started, from scratch with the bench work. And it wasn't a big deal. I said it cost me a few bucks, and I was lucky because most of it I bought before the prices went through the roof on the wood. Well, I'm not retired yet. 2.5 months, got to go get some sleep. All right, Anthony. Well, hey, thanks for popping in, man, and looking forward to see what happens when you move and get started on your new layout, man. So keep us up to date. and have a good and safe weekend. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for popping in. And it is getting close to that time anyway. It's almost 9 o'clock. I wasn't going to have a long show tonight because, like I said, I didn't really have much to talk about. But yeah, so we're probably going to run the outro here in a few minutes. Anybody any questions or anything that you want me to answer before I knock off for the night? Pogo's laying on the bench there, just going, "Are we ready to go home yet?" Not yet. Yeah, Anthony's got plenty of structures, rolling stock, salvage most of the lumber. Track will be my biggest new purchase. Okay, that makes sense. I had to buy a new track too. That kind of sucked. The prices went up on it, but still, at least you'll be able to salvage most of it. Though that's all that matters. It'll be fine. It'll be cool. So, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up. And once again, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me and putting up for my horse shit. And we'll see you next week. And look for me on OBS probably over the weekend. I'm going to be doing a test. Probably talk for an hour or two just to make sure everything's working properly. And if all goes well, I'll be using OBS next weekend or next Thursday. So we'll see. Anyway, everybody have a good weekend. Be safe. Play with your trains. And don't do anything I wouldn't do, which, leaves you wide open. We'll see y'all later. Here's the outro. Where the hell is the outro anyway? There it is.